Can't
No,
get
you got
down
to
with it.
pass. Got to get
I
out.
do. I
Well, man,
do.
it's great to meet you, and I would love to begin our conversation with what, like, looking at April 2024, 4 years ago, the world came to a stop. How did you get through COVID, and how did it change you?
It's an amazing question because I think that it's the catalyst for so much change that is happening throughout the world.
Yeah.
Um, I happened to be on my own journey about a year before that. I had begun meditating after a lot of, issues within being in the corporate fields. I grew up in a place called Okeechobee, Florida. We didn't have much money. We were often didn't have a fridge. We had a cooler, and we ate at places called the Dent and Bent. That's where you went and got cans of food that were discarded by the grocery stores.
Yeah.
Right. So I dug septic fields for my school clothes money, and I also got bullied for being trans when I wasn't. I had something called gynecomastia. When you grow up in a small town, a hillbilly town like that, well, I won't say that. It's self. There's respectable people there. However, it was very ignorant when I grew up,
Yeah.
and they found it as a way to come after me. So it gave me a horrible foundation for self-image and a lot of anxiety and issues, coming out of that drug-addled family and those types of things. When you grow up food insecure, I think that's the proper term for it now. There's all these safety words when you talk about stuff, but I did the army thing and got out, went into the corporate world, and I did what I thought I was supposed to do. Got a job, got a nice car, add stuff to the house, grab more material things, and at some point, happiness will come along with it. Because every time I started doing things and getting things and collecting more material things or statuses and jobs and six figures and solution architect and all these things, traveling around the world and feeling completely unfulfilled and out of place.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't have been in a worse situation with the best capabilities that there ever was. What I learned when I started meditating was a lot of things. For me, it allowed me to see personally why I was having the anxiety and issues that I was surrounding the work that I did. And that was that it was a mask. And as I began to look through it, and you'll see, my show is the Tragedy Academy, and it
Yeah.
features masks and yin yang. And it's very deep to me in that it allowed me to understand myself and realize that I was playing characters. And I didn't know at the time whether I thought anybody else had a role in this, if anybody else in the world was any way, shape, or form related to me and how I was enjoying the human experience, if you will. That said, I got to a point where metaphorically I had a bag of masks that I was carrying over my shoulder through life. And the more I meditated, the more I got to see time slow down and see the personalities that go along with an interview mask, an AT&T customer service mask, a mom mask, a dad mask, your friend's mask, your really, really, really raunchy friend's mask, right? These are all personalities. They're all different things that we're portraying to get some kind of reward from the eyes that we're giving the mask to. We're not playing from an authentic place. And for me, when it came time to get into the pandemic and COVID-19, I had just started my podcast, The Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. And I don't believe that's by accident. I think everything happens for a reason. I think that I was put on my knees over and over again with the trials and tribulations to end up understanding that I need to go back to who I was when I was a child. And the reason why I say that is COVID-19 and the pandemic allowed me to find timelessness. I firmly believe that our passions are rooted in the last place in life where we were able to find timelessness, usually in our childhood. I loved music. I loved music more than anything. It was the one thing that got me out of what I was going through. I sang in a Baptist choir until I was bullied out of it, for being that person in a Baptist choir. Didn't get instruments, dance alone. enjoy the time. And I just believe that COVID-19 allowed us to put a stick in the spokes of the proverbial tire that was our lives. And it gave us a chance to stop, look backwards, and realize we've been on a wheel the whole fucking time. Excuse me, language.
No, you're good. Yeah. What a great way. What a great metaphor to put out there because it's totally true. There was so much introspection and looking into the truth. And it sounds like you did exactly what needed to be done during that time. So, my question now is exactly what you do here in 2024. If I put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, one of the kids is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I'm a cartoon philosopher that loves fucking music. I'm me.
Yeah.
I want everybody to know that it is not who you want to be when you grow up. It's who you feel you are in the moment, and you continue from that place. I feel like we put a glass over our flame in childhood through the societal norms and implicit biases that we receive, and it makes that flame so small
Yeah.
until the day that we get our hammer. We get to look back and we get to swing it as hard as we can and let that loose. And what happens when you feed a flame of oxygen for the first time in a long time? It takes off, man.
Yeah.
It takes off. It's a beautiful thing.
One of my favorite quotes is from Charles Bukowski, and it says, "We're born geniuses and buried idiots."
Amen.
That's it.
Amen. I believe it.
Yeah.
The midlife crisis is nothing more than collecting layers of masks and other issues throughout life. And either you buy a car and go out and start losing your mind, or you sit down and you do some introspection and realize why you feel the way you do, and you go a different direction. I think that was the pandemic as well. It
Yeah.
either made you or it broke you.
Right.
You had to realize that your mask had no weight in your four walls when nobody was there. You were
Yep.
alone with the real you.
Yep. Absolutely. So let me ask you this. You've obviously had to overcome a lot in your life. Who's been a hero or an inspiration for you?
Mm, that's a great question. I want to say it's my dad. And we didn't always have the greatest relationship, but I found out later in life the trials and tribulations that he went through. And I saw, as a child, I saw certain things in him that scared me, but then as an adult, were me. And I watched him constantly try to better himself, no matter how hard or in pain or how much pain he had inside of him. I don't believe that you have to be a figure that stands up on a statue or gets put on a statue in life, or, has a library named after him, or wrote 12 books, or this kind of thing. To me, it's tenacity. It's the ability to stand up and say, there's no such thing as the past. There's no such thing as the future. I just have to be 100% me in this moment. And that's it. And he would always get up. I don't care if it was reading an AA book. I don't care if it was going to find a friend. He would get up even after falling on his knees and try the next day, try the next day. And it made me realize that had he been given the key, the ability to realize that pain is a choice, he would have been limitless. And he always just showed me never quit. He
Yeah.
has Parkinson's now, and he still gets in trouble for walking around the house. He kicks his walker over. He doesn't want it. He's going to do what he can when he can. And he says, "You're not going to hold me down at any point in time in life."
Good for him, man. So if you could have one person alive on the planet right now that you could interview on your podcast, dream guest, who would it be?
Mike Tyson.
Wow, that would be a great conversation. So let me ask you this. Do you think he's going to take Jake down in July?
So you know that the show we have Gary. He's my co-host. He was the executive producer of The Ultimate Fighter for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So I do have a fondness of fighting, and I am scared to death about this fight. And I'm not scared to death because of anything, but I don't want his legacy to accidentally end in some nightmare with this guy standing over him. It will
Yeah.
break my soul. But deep down, I believe that he is not someone that would ever allow anything to put him in that position. He is tenacity, like I said earlier. That guy is someone that came from nothing, was put on a public stage, created, and then had to deconstruct himself to come to some of the most enlightening understandings. And the way that he approaches things is beautiful.
Yeah.
He advocates for psychedelics, mental health. Who thought that the guy that we heard about in the '90s that was on our Mike Tyson's Punch Out video game and on the news and TMZ every other day was going to end up giving you some of the most sage advice that you'd ever get?
Yeah.
I want that dude. I
Yeah.
want I want to sit at his feet and listen to what it is that he's gone through and not the stories. I want to know how he came out of it.
You know,
What
I
did it
think,
look like backwards?
yeah, no kidding. And I think about the fact that he lost his child tragically about 5, 6 years ago. And you know what I remember? I remember seeing a documentary, and I wish I could find out where it was at. It was on HBO, but he had this huge back area full of pigeons. He loved pigeons, and he has them all in cages. And man, he turned into a kid. I think he even got a little bit teared up. It was wild, man. You're like
100%.
this crazy this massive dude has
True
this
story.
self-centered.
My wife and I got into a legit heated conversation about whether or not I was going to get to buy a hand painted picture of Mike Tyson holding one of his pigeons like this and looking down at it as if it were an infant child.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
thought it was one of the most beautiful things because I have seen them, the old school flipping pigeons and stuff like that. He does love his animals. I
Yeah.
think that's his timeless place.
Yeah.
I really think it is. I
Yeah.
don't know that. I don't know the guy. And I'm sure he does love boxing. But to me, it looks like something that he uses to fun, his art, his creativity, and his life. And
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing you can do is either use it as a bank or do what you love and make money at that.
That's it. And that's what he's doing. So let me ask you this. What's your motivation every day to get up, to do your podcast, to live your life, to evolve as a human being? What's that motivation for you?
I think it's to break the generational curse. It's to show people that we are the sum of our experiences over time, nothing more, nothing less, much like prescription lenses. No two people will have the same, and no two people will get the opportunity to understand things exactly the same. So you have to give them empathy. And I think that when I get up every day and I come in here to the studio and I allow somebody that strength and vulnerability to be able to tell people their story, they get the opportunity to put on their glasses and be able to see through them because you have an interpreter for your lens. When you have somebody there at the dinner table with you and you swap those metaphorical glasses and you're listening, let them tell you the story behind what they see, and your lenses will begin to clear. But you have to shut your mouth, you have to listen, and not wait for what you need to say back.
Yeah. Yeah. I have learned the skill as I've gotten older to just shut up.
My wife is teaching me the skill. And we have a son on the way. So and I'm a cartoon dude. I run around yelling, laughing, joking. The pandemic allowed me to be me.
Yeah.
Like 100%
Yeah.
authenticity
Yeah.
is key to life. And I started acting like that. Now my wife is like, she's like, you got to chill out. I'm like, oh no, our kid, he's going to be amazing. He
Yeah.
is going to have no sense of time. He is going to be creative in whatever way he wants to. He could be whatever. I don't care if he's a he, she, they, them. You can pull the gender C and say, I don't give a shit. As long as the person is happy, loved, and can do whatever they want. I'm not going to put that frame over my kid. I'm not going to
Yep.
let him grow to a mask, right? I'll leave you with a metaphor that I love, right? I watched this video of this farmer with watermelons, baby watermelons, and he was trying to sell them during Halloween. Pumpkin gets sold then. He took a clear mold of Frankenstein's head and he places it around the baby watermelon, screws it together, and leaves it. Lo and behold, a couple of months later, or however long it takes a watermelon to grow, he goes to the vine, he picks it up, and he starts unscrewing it, and you have Frankenstein's head
Wow.
looking back at you. You say, Jay, that's cool. Why the hell did you just tell us that? How do you not know that you have grown to a clear mold?
Right.
You have never met your true potential if you're growing to somebody else's standard
Yeah.
or a societal norm or becoming a widget in a machine or any of these other things. And by the way, to not be yourself is a slap in the face of whomever or whatever created you.
Yeah.
Who are
I
you to
agree.
know better?
Yeah. Right. Right. I totally get it. Well, that's cool, man. You're gonna have a child. That's awesome. I mean, that's and your exuberance. It's like you get to make your own Steven Spielberg film.
Bro, I get a studio, bro.
Yeah.
I get a studio,
Are you
bro.
kidding? I mean, it's like you got a creative duo.
I didn't even have a recorder.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even pull that in the house with a guy with a hangover in the house. He'll break
Yeah.
it over your head. So
Yeah.
I didn't have instruments. My kid gets to come in here, and if they love it, love it. And
Yeah.
if that's not it, whatever you want to do.
That's it.
But at least they get the opportunity, or he gets the opportunity to live without the generational curse,
Yeah.
live without the mold. Don't grow to shame,
Yeah.
grow to potential.
So as a music fan, a music lover, what was the first concert you saw that blew you away?
Mm. The first concert that blew me away was Eric Clapton live at the Budokan
Wow.
in Tokyo,
Wow.
and
Get
was
out.
not ready for them. Got the tickets on the fly, didn't have the respect for him without understanding that I already knew who he was. And I say this because my father absolutely loves music. I grew up on the 60s, the 70s. Every single Who, the Doors, the Rolling Stones, whoever it is, I've heard them all. And I realized when I was sitting there watching Eric Clapton play just raw that I was never closer to my father than in that moment, and he wasn't even there.
Yeah.
All the good times that I had with him were always around music.
Yeah.
It made me see it and feel it in that moment. And that's a guy that plays his music in a timeless manner.
Yeah.
You're not there.
Hmm.
If you're going to play music, make music, produce music, whatever it is, never play to somebody else's eyes or ears.
Yeah.
Play to your own and let them come to you.
Yeah.
That's why I love jazz.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think jazz is so cool because it's one of the few places that you are encouraged to solo.
100%. And they want that. Dude, I got to tell you, the other night, Saturday night, so I'm a visual artist. That's one of my paintings, and I'm in an
I love
art.
it. I've been
Thank
staring
you.
at it behind you. I adore it.
Right.
Remember, but I'll also buy Mike Tyson with a pigeon.
No,
So
yeah, you got to get the whole spectrum. So I donated artwork to a theater called The Folly, and it's very historic here in Kansas City. So I got free tickets Saturday night to a show for a guy named Matthew Whitaker. He's 23. He's a prodigy, the youngest person to ever be signed on by Yamaha at 15, signed on to Hammond at 12. Dude, this guy is like Stevie Wonder's like incarnate. He gets on the stage. I've never seen a genius before like that. And he has his glasses. He's yelping at the crowd. All he wants to do is have fun. Dude, he whipped that crowd up. People were crying. They were cheering. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Like he started doing what a wonderful world, and I could hear my wife sobbing, and it's like it hit you like that's it. But it was like someone took a bag of feathers and just like tipped it over on top of it. His fingers moved in a way that just undulated and did things, and you're just like, wow. So anyway, the power of music, man, get out of town.
well, I don't even think we've discussed this yet. what I do for every guest or any guest that comes on the show, or I try to do when I have time, is I started creating music about 5 years ago when I started the show because I was looking for the intro to my podcast. And I had never worked in a digital audio workstation in my life. And at the time, I was only editing my audio, which, by the way, is cognitive behavioral therapy,
Yeah.
if you want to
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
I dig it.
You need but I kept getting like these monstrosities back, and and not monstrosities. They just weren't ever going to be what I wanted. And I understood that after a little while, and I sat down with GarageBand and I just started listening and didn't realize that I had no affinity for music theory. I hadn't gone through any formal schooling, but for some reason I have an ear. I have an ear. I match sounds. It doesn't matter the notes. It doesn't matter. I go through and I grab what emotionally strikes me, whether it's beats, loops, whatever they are. And I will download things. I will grab sounds off of YouTube. I've done them for, I had a Kosovoan refugee that was on, and I went into anything I could find on Kosovoan instruments and things like that to put this intro together. And I can tell you, when I make these tragedy tracks, it is the one place that is truly timeless for me.
Yeah.
Truly timeless. I absolutely love it. I love doing it for him. I just did one for Bruce Brackett. He is a very amazing influencer in LGBTQ addiction, all that type of thing. And I can tell you, I find myself in those moments crying.
Yeah.
Or I didn't know that those moments existed
Yeah.
in music when you're allowed to make it yourself.
Uh-huh.
When you're alone, nobody's there, and I'll ask you a question. You're a musician, a very gifted musician. You've been around music probably your entire life. Have you found that you will move a certain way to music, like with your feet,
Yeah.
not the standard tap?
Right.
Everybody does that. When I started making music, and I joke about it with my wife all the time, and I'm going to get the foot cam, right? And that's not for adult viewing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The foot cam, because anytime I am in the moment, my feet are in 4 to 5 different places and pounding out every single bit of a tempo. But the moment that I think about it or notice it, like somebody threw a sticky octopus
Uh-huh.
at the wall,
Uh-huh.
jacked.
Uh-huh.
There's no rhythm, there's no nothing.
It's gone.
And I have not understood it.
It doesn't make any sense. I totally get it. Totally get it.
It's weird.
It is weird, dude. It's just weird. Let me ask you this. Of all the things that you've done and evolved into in your life, what are you the proudest of?
A good husband.
Yeah. Right
I
on.
haven't always been the best dude. Those masks were not anything I was ever proud of because they weren't me.
Yeah.
You're living to standards or living to shame or living to whatever it is. You have a lot of retrospection to do, a lot of personal forgiveness, or a lot of time where you have to understand that's another part of the pandemic. And I feel like having the opportunity to sit down with myself allowed me to be able to just scratch the surface in repaying my wife for standing beside me through my journey.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm doing that for her.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, colleagues, everybody. But you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
That's an awful question for me. I spend my entire life in mental health. I I see a therapist every other week. I have a neuropsychologist that I see all the time. It's very important to me. And self-image is one of the worst parts of coming out of a bullied childhood.
Yeah.
And if you'd asked me this question a long time ago, I would have told you all of the cool things that I could have been accomplished as. They see me as the leader of this in this field. They see me as a community leader that does solution architecture for blah, blah, blah. No. I want them to see me as the person that doesn't make them sad to go meet them.
Yeah.
someone that doesn't feel apprehensive. And I think that I give that to my friends. I don't want people to have to question where they left off with me the last time we met.
There you go.
I want to be the hook. And I think that's what they see.
I like it. So the Tragedy Academy is the podcast. You have a whole lot going on in your world. Where's the best place for anyone to go to get involved? The good business.
TheTragedyAcademy.com.
Okay. I love
It's
it.
that simple. All of it's there. You can catch all of our links. You can check out tragedy tracks. You can see the videos. Definitely come by and give us some love on PayPal or buy a coffee or buy me a coffee. I'm terrible at plugging things. I get yelled at for this all the time,
Yeah,
but
I get it.
Can't continually try to keep the financial burden on your own back the whole time.
100%.
You
Yeah.
know, so yeah, the tragedyacademy.com is where you can find us. Check us out on social media as well, either the Tragedy Academy podcast or Tragedy Academy. You'll see us out there, and we're always goofing around, or we have the most amazing guests in the world sharing some of the stories that will change your life through their eyes.
Man, you're an exceedingly cool cat. Thank you so much for such an evolved, raw story. And dude, good luck with fatherhood. You're going to be awesome. It's going to be a great
Love that.
ride,
Thank you,
dude.
man.
Yeah. Thank you, Jay.
Genuinely appreciate that. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for having such a breadth of guests and the ability to recognize that music is transformational.
Yeah.
And it's not just, somebody holding a saxophone or something like that that needs to come on and do an interview. You have such amazing guests, educators, passionate people. And
Yeah.
I thank you for sticking around in the podcast game since 2011. You're
Yeah.
an OG.
I am
And
OG. I
podcasting is the rarest form of connection that you get with another human being.
Yeah, I agree. And I can't believe it's hip now. I've been doing it for so long. It was just rote. And now it's like, wow, it's in movies and TV and people are talking about it. It's like, yeah, weird.
Nerds used to get wedgies. They don't get them anymore. They're
No.
left alone. You guys,
Yeah.
I love it. It
Yeah.
took too long, man. You guys should. Everybody else should have came around a lot sooner.
I know.
Would have been a lot more cool.
I know.
But thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for doing what you do.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your story, man. Best of luck, sir.
Appreciate you.
Take it easy.
You too. Bye-bye.